So as I did with Ultra Athletes, here are aromas. My ideas, my perspective, my opinions. I do not expect you to agree with it. The way I see the Aromage deck, whatever the fuck you want to call it, they are not fast. They are pretty damn slow. So in comparison to something like Ultra Athletes, they would more than likely beat the shit out of Aromas. But since they're a slower deck, they have a lot better late game. So the point is to get to the late game so you can win the game. I'm not going to say that this deck is good or bad at it. It all depends on the cards that you draw and the situations and what your opponent is playing. You know, all that shit. Now, with that being said, I find that it is unique. It is kind of difficult for, now in this game to have something that's unique. And there has never been an archetype that cared about life gain. And I think it is unique enough for you to at least try. I'm not saying this just going to be like some top tier shit unless the game slows the fuck down. I don't think it's going to slow down as long as Infernoids exist. But if the game slows down enough, maybe this will be a contender. But right now, it's like a casual thing. But I'm not saying that it can't win or do well. It's just slow as fuck. And there are too many decks out there. Even something like Ritual Beast is faster than this shit. It's like, the fuck? Anyway, I am not playing Bergamot. For those that have been watching me for some sufficient amount of time, you should understand why I do not play this card. But for those that aren't familiar, I'll tell you. I am not a fan of high-level monsters. Yes, this includes ones that require 1 tribute. Yes, you can play 3 Lone Fire, primarily just to get the Bergamot out the deck. And yes, these Lone Fires for Lone Fire, and then into Soul Charge. I understand that. But I am not a fan of opening this card in my opener. I would have to have an Aroma Garden to gain me life to be higher than my opponent just to tribute this Jasmine for the Bergamot. I understand that might not happen all the time, but the way I see it is as long as I have the card in my deck, it is possible that I will draw it at a bad time. So I said, fuck that, I'm not playing it. I'm not saying the Bergamot's a bad card. It's pretty damn aggressive, and it's pretty good. If there's a card that comes out later on that allows aromas to be special summoned from the deck or something, or the hand, without having to worry about the levels, then maybe I'll play at least one of it. But right now, hell no. Most of us can agree that Jasmine is primarily here because, well, you get to draw cards. And Plants ain't had a whole lot of ability to draw cards. And since I'm only playing 9 of these bitches, I'm not going to be skimping on something that lets me draw cards. Now, as I said, this is a late game deck. This motherfucker gets summoned, 100 attack. But if it manages to stay around and you keep drawing cards over the course of turns, you're probably going to out advantage your opponent. You being able to double summon a plant typically doesn't happen till the late game. This will usually just stay out in defense mode. Your opponent will try to get over it or something, and you see this deck right here. There are enough ways to prevent that from happening. I want the Jasmine to stay out to draw cards, but I think that's for everybody. Rosemary and Kananga, like I said, I don't have a whole lot of wiggle room anyway. I'm only playing 9 of the shits. I'm only playing them in 3s because that's all you really got, and I don't want to play Bergamot. I talked about Jaragito in one video, and I said it was the perfect fit for aromas. Some people might not agree with that, but this is how I feel. With aromas, at least right now, until the shit changes or something, you need to have, my opinion, enough ways to gain life, or at least practical ways to gain life. I ain't talking about no shit like dying Kettle to cure me. I'm not talking about that shit. I'm not talking about poisoning the old man. None of that. I'm talking about things like Jaragito that lets you gain life, but it's also a level 4 that lets me exceed with Rosemary if necessary. It lets me tribute itself to boost one of these weak ass bitches by 1,000 till the end of the next turn. It does something on top of gaining me life, like something like Aroma Garden. On top of gaining me life a turn, it boost all my monsters, not just aromas, by 500 attack and defense. And if an aroma gets destroyed, I gain 1,000. It does something on top of gaining me life. Draining Shield, for instance, it gains me life while negating an attack, which is really important. So when you have something like Draining Shield, you got Jaragito, and you even got Refreshing Wind if you're at lower life than your opponent, which you will probably be because you pay 1,000 to add an aroma. You gain life with Parching Wind out, you blow up a monster. So there hasn't been a whole lot of life gain cards that are practical. I would like to think that this version of the deck takes advantage of the most practical ones available. I am not playing Ghost Ogre Snow Rabbit, aka Yuki Usagi. Okay. I understand why people play it, and it's primarily to have access to Ancient Sacred Wyvern. Guess what? In my experience with playing Aromage, I have never really had a situation. If I would summon Ancient Sacred Wyvern, it would be real big to the point where, well, damn, I should play this more often. Never happened. If I would play Ancient Sacred Wyvern, and if I did have higher life than my opponent, it wouldn't be by much. It seems to be a lot of tit for tat. It's you have higher life here, so you can use your aroma's effects, and then you pay 1,000 to search an aroma, and then you gain life. Because with this card, you want to have a way to drop your life lower than your opponent's, and then you get to gain life. So when you gain life, you get these effects. And this too. I just think that it's important not to focus so much on gaining an insurmountable amount of life, and that rarely happens, so this card is not really used. But as far as Ghost Ogre Snow Rabbit as a card, it does not do the job that Effect Veiler does. One of the things in any type of control deck, at least the ones that I've ever made, the one thing that I hate so much since this motherfucker's been printed is Evil Swarm Excitonite. I'm usually going to be higher in cards than my opponent, and all they got to do is play that? Hell no. And of course, I've tried with Jet Phoenix Chain, and it just wasn't enough. I can interact with my opponent when I draw it off of Jasmine. I'm only playing one Magic Planner, but I tested 3. And there are some times, and this is why there's only one in here now. A Parching Wind is out and you don't need it, or you draw a copy of it. You want to get the one off the field, so you draw 2 cards, shit like that. Now, when you have too many cards that do the same thing, and they're not important to your strategy, like Magic Planner, you can draw Magic Planner off of Magic Planner. So when you start with a Magic Planner, you can't use it until a turn later. And a turn later, it may be too late. Maybe you'll be at too low a life total where you drawing cards will matter. So where Magic Planner is a good card, and you may be okay with playing 2 Magic Planner, maybe taking out the Terraforming. But I play the Terraforming just to search the garden. In short, that is my build. This is more likely not done or optimized. I think it's pretty good considering things. There could be some tweaks here and there, but I do like the idea behind it. I do like the concept, and I think it's decent. You can go and try it out and see if you like it. If you don't, you can change the shit. It is perfectly fine with me. So on that note, I'd like to thank everybody for watching. I appreciate it. If you would like to support me in some form or fashion, all I ask is you spend literally seconds out today and click an advertisement. I'll be grateful, appreciative, and I'll say thank you very much in advance. You can find some time to do that. I did originally play Powerful Rebirth in the deck, but I'd rather have better cards. And when I was playing Powerful Rebirth, I was playing multiple Magic Planners. Because I'm not playing Powerful Rebirth, but I'm playing Jury Ghetto and Rosemary, it makes so much more sense to play Degusta Emerald in your extra deck.